Okay, lesson 1.8, we're learning about slope, which is one of my beloved topics that I just get so excited about when I get to teach about it. Our objective is to be able to identify slope using tables and graphs. Slope is the rate of change between any 2 points on a line. Slope is the change in y versus the change in x. So if we look at our graph, we have, they've already marked it on there for us. You look at how much is the y. We look at 2 points, which they have those 2 points marked for us. And we look at how much is the y changing on there. So you see they have that line up there. It is changing. It's going from 1 to 3. It's changing by 2. And then it's running by 1. So that's how they got the 2 here and the 1 here. It was change in y over change in x. 2 divided by 1 is 2. So the slope of this is 2. In a linear relationship, the vertical change in y value, per unit of horizontal change in x value is always the same. The ratio is called the slope of the function. The constant rate of change, or unit rate, is the same as the slope of the related linear relationship. The slope tells how steep the line is. The vertical change is sometimes called the rise, when the horizontal change is called the run. Most people will say the slope is the rise over run. So you'll hear people say rise over run, rise over run. That's the same thing. If you look here, I'm doing purples, I have a different color. I have this point and this point, and I look at how much did it go up. It went from 3 to 5, it went up 2, and it went over 1. So it went up 2 and over 1. So again, my slope is 2. If it's a proportional relationship, your slope will always be the same because it's creating a line going up at the same pace. Okay, we're going to get to break out my famous singing voice, and of course I'm not feeling great while we do it. So we have 2 points. We don't have a graph, but we need to know the slope. Well, I don't know what to do. I do. There's a formula for this, and the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the first thing we do is we say this is our first point, this is our second point. So we say this is our x1 value, this is our y1 value, this is our x2 value, this is our y2 value. So here's our formula. You put your y2 in, you take your y1 out, you put your x2 in, you take your x1 out, divide them in the middle, put an m at the start. That's what slope's all about. So I'm going to do it again. You put your y2 in, you take your y1 out, you put your x2 in, take your x1 out, divide them in the middle, put an m at the start. That's what slope's all about. M always stands for slope, so that is a little FYI. So we are going to do it now. We're going to take our y2, and our y2 is 8. And we're going to take out our y1, which is 3. And then we're going to put our x2 in, which is 4. We're going to take out our x1, which is 1. So now we just subtract. 8 minus 3 is 5. 4 minus 1 is 3. So our slope is 5/3. If that were to be a graph, that would mean it would go up 5 over 3, and there would be dots. And then up 5 over 3, and so on to make a line. Number 1, the table below shows the relationship between the number of seconds y it takes to hear thunder after a lightning strike and the miles x you are from the lightning. Look at the graph and find the slope. Explain what the slope represents. So if we look at the graph, it shows our change in y in the blue, so it's from 15 to 25. So that's a change in 10. And then we look at the red line, and that's a change from 3 to 5, so that's a change of 2. We divide it, and it's 5. And so that's saying it takes 5 seconds to hear thunder, or to see lightning. Miles you are from the lightning. So it takes 5 seconds. If it's 5 seconds, you're 1 mile away from the lightning. So it's 5 seconds for 1 mile. And that's how, when it says explain what the slope represents, this is good enough for me. Another way, like in more critical like explanation would be, you're 5 seconds away when you hear the thunder, which means that you're 1 mile away from the lightning. And that would be what they're looking for. It's just that you understand that this is 5 seconds for 1 mile. You're using these labels on your table to interpret what that data means. A lot of times on AM, it'll ask you for the unit rate or something, and it's easier just to look at the 1 and see if it goes through 0, 0. That's your easiest bet on those. Number 2, it says to graph the data, but I am changing the rules, so we are not going to be graphing the data. We are just going to find the slope of this line, explain what the slope represents in the work zone. So we are going to find the slope by doing it with my little song. So if you remember, it's put your Y2 in, take your Y1 out, put your X2 in, take your X1 out, divide them in the middle, putting them at the start. That's what slope's all about. So I'm going to pick 2 points. When I look at a table, these are all ordered pairs, okay? Every single set is an ordered pair. This is my X value. This is my Y value. Now, I personally don't like to work with decimals. I mean, if I don't have to, why use decimals? So I'm going to do, this is my X1, this is my Y1, this is my X2, and this is my Y2. So that way we don't have to use decimals. So I put my Y2 in, I take my Y1 out, I put my X2 in, take my X1 out, divide them in the middle, putting them at the start. That's what slope's all about. So I do 6 minus 3 is 3, and 4 minus 2 is 2. So I get 3 halves. Now I need to explain, so that means that it's going to, every time the plant grows 3 centimeters, it has been 2 weeks. So it takes 2 weeks for the plant to grow 3 centimeters. Okay, Ronaldo opened a savings account. Each week he deposits $300. Draw a graph of the account balance versus time. Find the numerical value of the slope and interpret in words. So we are going to find the slope. We're going to do the same colors they did. First thing you do is pick 2 points. I always like to pick them right by each other if possible. So I'm going to do these 2 right here. My change in Y, so I go from 600 to 900. So the change is 300 over, I go from 2 weeks to 3 weeks. So the change in X is 1 week. So it's a change of $300, and the change in X was 1 week. So that means it's a change of $300 per week, which is what they told us. It was each week he deposits 300. So that's your answer. So you could use words to explain it a little bit more, that every week he's depositing $300 into the account, and that is the slope.